On a quiet, nearly deserted road in a small village, a group of young men were walking casually, unaware that what they were about to witness would forever haunt them. The morning air was crisp, the fields stretching endlessly on either side, yet something felt off. It was a stretch of road where only locals usually ventured, and today, dozens of police officers, inspectors, and even the district SP would converge here. This was no ordinary day. Usually, police involvement starts after a crime occurs, with investigations stretching from the local station to court. But today, the village itself would become the epicenter of a shocking revelation. In the heart of Mahoba district, in the Kabai police jurisdiction, lay a small village called Makarbai. It seemed ordinary at first glance, but it housed a 12th century ancient temple, protected by the Archaeological Survey of India, a silent witness to centuries of history. Here lived Kiran Singh, also known as Kajal, a 30-year-old woman from a middle-class family. Though not wealthy, they lived comfortably enough. Kiran's life, however, was far from ordinary. She was married to Vinod Kumar Singh, a CRPF constable, in a grand arranged marriage on February 22, 2023. The wedding was lavish, attended with every custom fulfilled. Kiran initially moved to her in-laws' home in Lalpur, Hamirpur district, but later returned to her parental home for reasons that would soon intertwine with a series of dark events. On November 12, 2025, her father fell gravely ill. Her two brothers, Rajesh and Satish, rushed him to a hospital in Kanpur and admitted him to the ICU. At home, Kiran was alone, a fact her brothers overlooked amid the chaos. By evening, her phone was unreachable, though nobody thought too much of it at first. Little did they know the following day would change everything. The next morning, November 13th, around 8:30 a.m., near the Ramna Kishanpur village in Mudaha police jurisdiction, a shocking scene unfolded. A few boys walking along the Mudaha Rath Road noticed red patches on the roadside. At first they were puzzled, unsure what they were seeing. The patches led off the road toward the fields. Driven by curiosity, the boys followed them, only to stumble upon a horrifying sight. A woman lying semi-naked amidst the bushes with stray dogs nearby. Their screams drew villagers from nearby homes who immediately called the Mudaha police. Within minutes, the police arrived, sealing off the area. Evidence collection began with meticulous care. Forensics and the dog squad joined, and even the district SP came to oversee the investigation. The body showed clear signs of trauma, with deep wounds on her head and bruises across her body. Marks on the ground suggested she had been dragged nearly 20 meters from the road to the bushes. Stones with bloodstains nearby hinted at the brutality inflicted. Her age seemed to be over 25, but there was no identification, no personal items left behind. She was a complete unknown in the village. Villagers and authorities attempted to identify her, but no one recognized her. Security cameras in the area were sparse, but footage from nearby villages showed a white Maruti Suzuki moving suspiciously near the scene late at night. The police traced the vehicle to a local resident named Devendra Kumar. However, he claimed ignorance, insisting his car had been taken by an inspector for official purposes. This added another layer of mystery. A police officer himself had been involved in moving the vehicle. Meanwhile, Kiran's brothers returned home on November 14th to discover she was missing. Her phone was off and no one had seen her since the previous morning. Panic set in. They contacted relatives and neighbors, but no information emerged. Only then did Inspector Ankit Yadav, who had jurisdiction over Kabai, step in. By mid-morning, a tip from the Hamirpur police led them to suspect that the woman found might be Kiran herself. The brothers rushed to the hospital in Hamirpur, only to confirm their worst fears. It was indeed Kiran. From this point, the investigation intensified. Kieran had been involved in ongoing legal disputes with her in-laws over dowry. After her marriage in 2023, her family claimed her in-laws began demanding cash and gifts, pressuring her, and even allegedly attempting to poison her. She had filed a dowry case in December 2024 and further complaints in 2025 against her brother-in-law for inappropriate behavior. These reports had been investigated and some officers had been replaced due to dissatisfaction with the probe. Kieran was a woman fighting back against systemic pressures. However, the incident on November 13th added a chilling dimension. Police discovered that her mobile phone was with her and showed a trail of calls and locations, revealing interactions with Inspector Ankit Yadav, the same officer overseeing her dowry case. CCTV footage confirmed the presence of a suspicious car, matching Devendra Kumar's vehicle, but it had been moved under police instructions. The investigation revealed multiple anomalies, raising questions about motives, involvement, and manipulation. The case was no longer just about domestic disputes. It had escalated into a deeply complex criminal investigation. The audience is left with a question. How did a routine dispute with in-laws spiral into a violent crime implicating a police officer? And who orchestrated the series of manipulations that led to Kieran being found in such a state? The pieces are in place, the players identified, but the answers remain obscured in shadows, creating an irresistible pull to uncover the truth. The morning after Kieran was discovered, the village buzzed with tension. What had been a quiet, forgotten road now became the stage for a complex web of deception. The police presence was overwhelming, with multiple teams combing the area for clues. Every footprint, every shard of glass, every smear of blood was scrutinized. But amid the meticulous investigation, whispers began to circulate. How could a woman like Kieran, cautious and vigilant, end up in such a vulnerable state? And why were the details so unusually convoluted? These questions lingered like shadows over the investigators themselves. Inspector Ankit Yadav had been assigned the dowry case against Kieran's in-laws. Initially, his task seemed straightforward: gather evidence, record statements, and submit the findings. But over the weeks, a connection between him and Kieran grew, subtle at first, then undeniable. He was her investigator, yet the lines between professional duty and personal interest blurred. Phone records revealed repeated interactions, sometimes 10 to 12 calls a day, occasionally over 100. Observers noted that Ankit frequently visited Kieran's parental home under the guise of questioning. But the visits were prolonged, with conversations that went far beyond the scope of the case. Kieran's fascination with social media and short-form videos had initially sparked minor friction with her in-laws. She was an ordinary young woman, using a camera and phone to document everyday life, oblivious to the whispers her content caused. Her in-laws disapproved, interpreting her creativity as public embarrassment. The dowry disputes that followed further strained the relationship. But little did anyone know, these domestic tensions would intersect dangerously with the investigation, setting the stage for a catastrophic outcome. The white Maruti Suzuki became a central piece of the puzzle. Though registered to Devendra Kumar, he insisted the car had been borrowed by Inspector Ankit for official purposes. The investigation team traced the vehicle's movements through CCTV and petrol receipts. It had traveled late at night from Kieran's neighborhood, meandering near Ramna village where she would later be found. The timeline raised urgent questions. Was Kieran a passive victim, or had she gone with someone she trusted only for things to spiral out of control? Forensics revealed more than just blood and bruises. Scrapes on the body indicated that Kieran had struggled, that she had fought to maintain control over her fate. Her jeans and clothing, partially torn and discarded, hinted at a chaotic confrontation. Her mobile phone, crucially, had been tampered with, possibly to erase traces of communication. Yet investigators were clever. By analyzing the remaining call logs and locations, a chilling pattern emerged. Every step she took, every person she contacted seemed to draw her deeper into a dangerous triangle. Her family's disputes, her in-laws' threats, and the inexplicable involvement of a police officer. As the team delved into Inspector Ankit's background, more unsettling details surfaced. A young officer new to his position, he hailed from Raebareli with family ties in law enforcement. His career trajectory was impressive, yet he displayed behaviors that deviated from protocol. He frequently bypassed formal procedures, choosing personal interactions over official channels. While it was normal to contact witnesses or involved parties, the frequency, persistence, and intimacy of his communications with Kieran were alarming. The investigators began to question. Could someone sworn to uphold the law have crossed the very line he was meant to protect? The narrative twisted further when Devendra Kumar, the car owner, revealed his perspective. He claimed he had no knowledge of Kieran's movements and insisted the vehicle was in Ankit's possession. If true, this meant that a serving officer had the means, opportunity, and access to manipulate events unseen. Meanwhile, investigators continued their painstaking examination. Tire marks, soil samples, fingerprints, blood traces on roadside stones and broken grass. All silent witnesses to a struggle that had lasted 20 minutes. Every detail, his interactions with Kieran, the borrowed car, the location data, the tire marks, was now irrefutable. Confronted with the evidence, Ankit could no longer maintain his facade. Under interrogation, the narrative began to unfold. According to his own confession, what had started as professional interaction with Kieran had escalated into a dangerous personal entanglement. The calls, the visits, the shared drives, all had blurred the lines between duty and desire. Kieran, assertive and proactive in protecting her interests, had unknowingly become a catalyst in a tense, psychological struggle. Ankit admitted to the sequence of events near Ramna village. The car ride, the argument, the assault, and the attempt to destroy evidence. Every action he took was both calculated and impulsive, a blend of premeditation and panic. The evidence collected by the police was staggering. Forensics confirmed the red stains on the roadside stones came from Kieran's injuries. The soil and tire samples from the Maruti Suzuki aligned perfectly with the scene. Her mobile phone, though tampered with, still revealed critical details. The final calls, her locations, and the timeline of the attack. Every technological trace corroborated the family's account in the public narrative. Even Devendra Kumar, the car's registered owner, was cleared of any involvement, solidifying Ankit as the sole orchestrator. Public attention had grown intensely curious. Media outlets highlighted the disturbing contrast. A man sworn to uphold the law was the very person responsible for breaching it. Citizens debated how authority could be weaponized and how trust could be shattered so completely. The case sparked discussions about police accountability, procedural transparency, and the vulnerabilities of individuals entangled with powerful institutions. People questioned not just the crime, but the environment that allowed it to occur. The investigation also resolved lingering mysteries about Kieran's absence from her marital home. Her prior dowry complaints, the tension with her in-laws, and her social media presence had initially painted a complex picture. Some speculated that she had orchestrated elements of the interaction to manipulate circumstances. Others viewed her as a victim of cumulative pressures, both domestic and institutional. In the end, the evidence supported that Kieran's only misstep was her misplaced trust. Trust in a police officer, in a system that should have protected her. Post-mortem reports, medical examinations, and forensic results were meticulously analyzed to provide a complete understanding. Kieran's injuries reflected the severity of the struggle and the violent intent. Her body bore marks of restraint, impact, and attempts to suppress evidence. The investigators' attention to detail ensured that the narrative was not left to speculation. Every bruise, every trace of DNA, every disrupted environment told a story that words alone could not capture. It was the silent testimony of the crime scene itself that spoke the loudest. As the case reached the courtroom, the focus shifted to justice and accountability. Ankit was suspended, facing departmental and criminal charges. Legal proceedings highlighted the severity of abusing power, especially for someone entrusted with public safety. The courtroom became a stage not just for verdicts, but for broader societal reflection. How to prevent such breaches, how to protect victims, and how systems can be improved to ensure such incidents remain exceptions, not precedents. Even after the investigation concluded, questions remained. Why had Ankit chosen such a convoluted method to assert control? Why did he wait until panic and manipulation escalated before committing the ultimate act? Could Kieran have sensed the danger, or was the trust she placed in him an unavoidable vulnerability? And for the audience, these questions linger in a way that simple answers cannot fully resolve. They provoke reflection about the nature of authority, human psychology, and the consequences of blurred boundaries. In the end, the case of Kiran Singh left a mark on every individual connected to it. Her family endured loss and trauma, yet their persistence ensured that truth prevailed. Law enforcement, shaken by internal betrayal, faced introspection and procedural reforms. And the public witnessed to a narrative that spanned domestic conflict, institutional power, and personal betrayal, was left with a chilling realization. Sometimes danger comes not from strangers, but from those we are taught to trust. As we close this chapter, one question remains for every viewer. If someone sworn to protect can become the greatest threat, how can we truly safeguard ourselves? And who decides which lines are never to be crossed?